Hello everyone, this is Quadrant giving you a shoutcast between Kuba spawning as the blue Zerg player here at the 10 o'clock location versus Mouse Hasu spawning here at what I'll call the 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock position as the yellow Protoss. This is Protoss versus Zerg here in the Delta Quadrant. This is game 1 in a series. It is part of the finals of, I believe, a German tournament. I don't have all the complete translations just quite yet. As soon as I find out more about the information and the format, I will let you guys know. I'm sure some very observant viewer will say what this tournament was actually from and let us know. I believe they have monthly tournaments or weekly tournaments with a monthly tournament as well. All for a couple, I think it's like 1,500 euros a month, so not too shabby for these players. We now see Mouse Hasu scouting out in the counterclockwise direction, trying to figure out where exactly that Zerg player is. We'll come up this ramp and quickly find that his opponent has not spawned here. Taking a look at the production tabs and just the matchup here in the Delta Quadrant, I'm curious as to whether or not Kuba will be going for that front door hatchery or this hatchery over here. This hatchery is very exposed, so it is kind of difficult to take a second base very early on, but it is something that most Zerg players do want to do. We now see Hasu currently getting that gateway over here. I believe that is a complete seal. Yeah, no, that is not a seal. So he's going to be putting a cybernetics core here and then allowing his units to walk along this side. That is a much smarter location, as you want a very narrow choke point for any Zerglings to try to make their way in. The longer that they have to single file line, the easier it is to get off a force field or perhaps get a new unit into that location there to try to reinforce it. Hasu getting that second pylon now, and now we also see, a drone was able to circumnavigate around the scouting probe over here. The probe does see that the spawning pool is now being laid down, but Kuba also now getting that extractor as well, so the hatchery was placed down in addition to that spawning pool. So it looks as though Hasu, he should be coming out to check to see if a hatchery was placed down. He will see the hatchery has been placed down, but Zerglings are now already being trained. So this one scouting probe, its days are numbered if he doesn't watch out and be careful, especially if he stays too far onto that creep. He's going to quickly find himself on the wrong end of a Zergling claw, and there you go. Zergling's already getting a nice good chase onto that one probe. Probe trying to run away, already down to 10 shields there, slowly getting picked apart. We now see one Overlord now making its way into this position here, as Hasu now double training a second Zealot. This is not your standard play at all. That probe looks like it will be able to return all the way home. One Zealot standing guard there. And now those Zerglings deciding not to put any pressure on this side. Oh no, it looks like, yes, the Hasu could try to move these Zerglings and now put some pressure onto the Cybernetics Core. The Cybernetics Core does have a smaller footprint and now outmoves a second Zealot. So with two Zealots now, he should be very safe. And now one Zealot going to move to take down these destructible rocks. No, does see that there is an Overlord there. Will try to take down those rocks in order to establish a third base. Now with the way Kuba is currently building, he does already have attacking the tier 2. He could easily get a Spire and get a lot of gas. If he goes for a lot of gas, Mutalisk on this high ground will be able to pick off probes. So I'm not 100% sure if Hasu should even try to take this expansion, as he will not be able to see up into this location until he gets an observer. He doesn't have an observer just quite yet, as he doesn't even have a robotics facility. Hasu now going into a 3-gate, and I don't see much else beyond that 3-gate, and now going into a Stargate. So 3-gate into a Stargate. So he will be able to get a couple Phoenixes. The Stalker now making its way over here as well in order to try to deal some damage and try to take down these destructible rocks. Currently power droning coming in from Kuba. Kuba getting 6 additional drones right now. He does not seem to be getting any Vespene Geyser, so it looks like the tech to tier 2 was solely for the movement speed upgrade, as Kuba should be able to get the Glio reconstitution, allowing for faster movement speed on those roaches. Very important, especially on a map like this where there is a lot of walking involved. We now see creep tumors. No creep tumor being laid down just quite yet. And it looks like Kuba is only trying to get queens just enough in order to spawn larva, and there's not even a queen at that main base yet. So Kuba very far behind in terms of the economic game. Sorry, not the economic game, the macro game. He's not going to be able to train up nearly as many units as you would normally expect from a Zerg off of 2 bases. Zerglings once again trying to test the front door. There is one sentry there, so that sentry should be able to... Oh, trapping the force field, and those Zerglings have nowhere to run. Nicely done. That Zealot gonna get a lot of damage there, and now Kuba losing 4 scouting Zerglings as the destructible rocks have already been placed down. Hasu not even caring that Kuba sees this, saying, I'm going to place an expansion here, and there's not much you can really do about it. A Stalker now coming over to even shoo away that Overlord. The Overlord now going to take some damage as well, and now a Phoenix will be coming in, and that's Overlord's days are numbered. But Roaches now moving out. The Roach movement speed upgrade nearing completion, only needs about 10 seconds more, and with Zealots sitting there, that is going to be the absolute worst positioning. Stalkers, oh, Phoenix is already coming in, and now getting some damage onto those Roaches, onto those Zealots, but there are some Roaches on the low ground, and a lot of Zealots now getting taken down. The one Roach on that high ground, allowing it to gain sight, and this is going to help a lot as those units are just continuing to attack up onto that high ground there. It looks like Kuba did have sight for just a moment, now trying to get some more damage onto this one Cybernetics core, and now in comes some more Graviton Beam Phoenixes being used to try to counter Roaches. Roaches do have a base of 1 armor though, so it takes a fair amount of damage and a fair amount of Graviton Beams in order to even try to snipe one of those down, and now Kuba getting a lot of damage across those units, but there are a decent number of sentries, and now out comes a Void Ray, and that Void Ray will be able to push back this harass very, very easily. The Phoenixes may be even able to Graviton Beam more of those Roaches, and now allow that one Void Ray to come out and deal more damage. It doesn't look like the Void Ray got the memo that there was a Graviton Beam unit. And why isn't Hasu moving out with this Void Ray? Not quite sure, as the Phoenixes are now just moving out in order to get some additional damage, perhaps onto some of those Overlords. Now going quickly after some of those drones now, so drones now getting picked apart, and now you can still see that one Queen getting a lot of damage there. The Overlord now getting shot down. We see the Hydralisk then, and now 6 Hydralisks currently being trained. Perhaps we'll get some supply luck. No, a second Queen now coming in, preventing this one Overlord from getting shot down. We see Roaches also destroying these destructible rocks on the north side of the map, so Kuba will automatically be able to take up his third base in a very, very nice position far away from his opponent, and Kuba establishing his third base should be able to get in a lot of macro once again. We already have 2 Queens now, and a third, no, and more Hydralisks coming in, so those Hydralisks getting some damage in. The Groove Spines research about halfway so far. There are currently 2 Phoenixes in the air. The Queen now trying to get even more damage. It looks like more drones are getting picked apart. Very, very smart to go after the drones that are currently getting gas, as that is a severer hit, a stronger hit, and now you can only see 1 drone off of this one Vespene Geyser. Back over here, we now see Phoenixes moving around the map still. We now also see Roaches and Hydralisks trying to push out, but I'm surprised that there isn't a creep highway being set up. And Roaches now trying to perhaps pressure this front door. Not going to be successful at all, as there is Void Rays and a lot of Stalkers and Sentries behind this position, able to separate this army in half at just a moment's notice. You can also see a robotics bay being warped in addition to that robotics facility already in play. No observers just quite yet, but it looks as though, yes, the Phoenixes are going to get even more kills. No, the Hydralisks are going to be able to come back in time and now shoo away those and that Phoenix once again. So it is currently 2 base play coming in from Hasu. Hasu should know, he does not know about this expansion at the 12 o'clock location, that gold mineral patch. And now the Phoenixes are just still wandering around the map. Will it be able to go after more of those Overlords? Yes, another Overlord will get shot down. And now more Hydralisks trying to come in, trying to get more damage once again. And now going after drones again. So very, very nicely done. Hasu getting a lot of mileage out of those Phoenixes. I believe the Phoenix will be able to fly in over here and sees that there still is no expansion. And he has to be curious as to what exactly is happening. He now sees a drone being transferred over here and quickly spots out this hatchery. And now he knows that he's a little bit behind economically. He needs to either push out and get a lot of damage or establish a third base of his own. You cannot let a Zerg player expand all across the map like you're currently seeing. Kuba now only 13 minutes into this game and is now establishing another expansion here. You can see a Nexus being thrown down by Hasu, but Hasu just trying to play catch up at this point. One, I believe that was a Roach, trying to walk up that front door, quickly getting shot down. And now we are seeing Hasu getting a very large army, or a decent army of Stalkers, Void Rays, and Colossus. Those Colossus and Void Rays are going to be the main damage dealers in that army. So he wants to try to leave them further back while allowing those Stalkers and those Sentries perhaps to just rein in those units and block off the rest of those units as well. Hydralisks don't have any weapons upgrade though, so they are currently only sitting at 0-0. We are currently training up, what, 14 roaches. That is going to be a roach infestation in the center of the map here in the Delta Quadrant. So much damage. Now, if you look at the army, 3575 versus 2500. But you can see that there is a little bit of a stronger gas presence in Mouse Hasu's army. The majority of the gas was spent on both the weapons upgrade. Oh, weapons upgrade. Hydralisks are now 1-1, and the roaches are also 1-1 as well, and now getting the 2-2 upgrades. So wow, Kuba getting a very, very strong upgrades indeed on his units now, and he should be able to perhaps try to test the waters and try to walk up that ramp, or perhaps at least try to contain Hasu in his base. There are probes now making their way out. The probes do not want to make their way out though right now. They cannot be transferred, and now we see photon cannons over here, so Hasu being very, very safe with photon cannons, as those colossus have that extended thermal lance range, are now able to push out against this army because there is no creep. Without any creep, those hydralisks move very, very slowly. Those roaches also move slower, as well as the force field now being brought into play and now cutting off half of this army. Nicely done, cleaning up many of those roaches. The colossus could easily break down those force fields and continue to push out. We currently see 6 sentries, and those 6 sentries still have a decent amount of energy. 2 of them at max, but another 4 of them currently sitting at about 38 energy. Should be able to get even more force fields up in just a moment. More gateways now being laid down as well. And it's going to be very, very difficult for Kuba to even try to make it up that ramp. Overlord's now getting shot down though, so Kuba now sitting at 192, and now more force fields laid down, and almost getting another roach out of position there. But now the Colossus trying to test the waters and has to be careful. And Kuba has to be careful with his units. He does have the benefit of creep, but he needs to get some creep tumors, and I'm not quite sure why he isn't currently researching or at least laying down 1 or 2 creep tumors. We also see corruptors coming into play, and roaches now trying to swarm out. A lot of damage being dealt. Corruptors now in the air, focusing down those void rays first. Stalkers now trying to counter those corruptors, and now roaches continuing to just move around, getting a decent flank on this side. But the roaches and hydras need to continue to push in, and now the sentries are very low on energy. No energy for any force fields, as those roaches now make their way down over here and see that there isn't an expansion. Are they going to try to make it up that ramp? Not quite sure. No, they are not going to be able to make it up that ramp at all. Roaches instead deciding to sacrifice themselves to at least pick off 1 stalker before they go. Level 2 weapons upgrade nearly completed for those roaches and those hydralisks. You can see also that Hasu has a much larger army, both in terms of gas and slightly in terms of minerals. Both sides now fighting back once again. Zergling's now trying to get a decent swarm, but what you really need to see coming in from Kuba at this point is Ultralisk. Ultralisk would be able to deal a decent amount of damage, especially with that armor upgrade, reducing the amount of damage that those stalkers are able to do. And those Ultralisks are able to just break down those force fields. The slight splash damage also coming in from the front of those Ultralisks, from those Kaiser blades, allow the Ultralisks to just get a lot of splash damage on this tight ball of units and break through those force fields. You can continue to see that Hasu is being very, very careful with this Stalker Colossus ball, but there are so many Corruptors in the air that the Corruptors are now just simply going after those Colossus first, and now we see a lot of Stalkers continuing to fight, blinking away, preventing or just sacrificing many of those sentries, and now those Stalkers are trying to run away, trying to get some damage. Will the sentries be able to make it up that ramp? The sentries are going to be able to, and so many Corruptors lost to photon cannons. And wow, what a change in that battle there. Kuba now being forced to try to pull back. The Stalkers can be very, very careful, or can be just very forgiving with their movement right now, because they know they can just blink out of a bad situation. Both sides having a very, very decent sized ball. One roach getting caught on the wrong side of that group of stalkers once again. And now we should see perhaps this front stalker blink to the back. No gonna get microed. There you go. There's that blink that I was talking about. And now those units continuing to just sacrifice themselves against those photon cannons. And there's that force field. So really, Kuba needs to get into high tech, perhaps get some Ultralisks. Ultralisks are just there to absorb a lot of damage, and especially when you have creep down, or when Kuba could get as much of a decent creep spread, he could be able to just completely lock out his opponent by splitting up these 2 armies. You can see that there is the main base here and then an expansion here. The problem is the walking distance. Even with stalkers have a difficult time trying to travel from one place to another, as they only have a movement speed of 2.95 and they tend to take up a lot of room, so ramps are a difficulty for them. Zealots now being warped in. Zealots do not have Zealot charge. We are now getting the level 3 weapons upgrade, so those Colossi are going to be able to deal a lot of damage. And one very, very early Stalker with very low on shield, or very low on hit points, now trying to fight back. Roach is now trying to turn around once again, and more Stalkers just blinking, moving at the speed of light, just helping out tremendously. Roach is now taking down another set of gold minerals, so we are going to be 4 bases or 5 bases compared to 4, and this is a very gutsy move coming in from Kuba. Kuba and taking this expansion, especially with those Colossi that could rock in from this direction over here, and then just start raining damage onto that hatchery. Stalkers could blink up and down pretty easily as well, and then do a nice tactical retreat, but there are also Overlords that gain sight onto that high ground. The Overlords do not have that movement speed upgrade. We are going into Hive Tech, so we may actually see Ultralisk or perhaps Broodlords. Kuba is currently sitting on 5,000 minerals, so he can sacrifice and suicide his army pretty easily. Hasu sitting on 180 over 182 and only 2,600 minerals. Army-wise, you can see that Hasu does have the larger army at this time, just because Kuba Kuba has perhaps more harvesters. No, even on harvesters. So I'm not exactly sure how Kuba currently has the larger food count, but the smaller army. Perhaps he isn't as invested. Roaches costing 2 food, so a 2 food unit that costs 75 minerals, that's probably where a lot of the losses are currently trying to be made up, or just the mineral difference in terms of the army sizes. Now, level 3 weapons upgrade now Zerg level 2, and we are getting the Zerg ground carapace upgrade, and there's that Ultralisk cavern that I was talking about. So I'm really hoping to see Ultralisk being used. It was one of the things where I've been studying a lot of Zerg versus Protoss replays, and Stalker balls are very difficult for Zerg to counter with Roach Hydra. Roach Hydra versus Stalker Colossus. Zerglings can't get decent surrounds. Roach Hydra generally fall apart because those Colossus are able to stick around for so long, getting a lot of splash damage, and then those Corruptors aren't a decent counter either, as those Stalkers are underneath those Corruptors, dealing so much damage, especially fully upgraded, as many of the times you never see Air Armor being upgraded, as Air Armor is the most expensive upgrade tech path, I believe. We now see a Dark Shrine coming in. So Hasu, realizing that his opponent doesn't have that many Overseers, may be able to luck out, and now we see the Stalkers and the Roaches and Hydras. Roach is now trying to move in. This may have been a problem, and oh, there we go, trying to take down this damage over here. Now trying to go into full retreat, as those Roaches may be able to just simply walk through into this location here, get some damage, perhaps just try to get some damage onto those Cybernetics core, and perhaps be able to continue this fight. However, this is in a very, very bad position for Kuba. Kuba is just taking a beating on his army, down to 2,300, 5675 production. We need to see a lot more units being trained. We also see Roaches now simply coming in, going after pylon after pylon, perhaps taking down some of those key tech buildings. Stalkers continue to warp in. Kuba now warping in 16 Ultralisks. So 16 Ultralisks, but it's not going to matter unless we have some Overseers. And without Overseers, that is still going to be a problem. Hasu, and currently level 3 weapons upgrade, but even with level 3 weapons upgrade, it may not be enough damage against that very, very thick armor of those Zerg. We can now see what Dark Templar just walking around over here, getting a ton of kills. We are getting one Overseer Cocoon, and now out come the Ultralisk. Ultralisk could just turn around and try to deal some damage. Not quite sure why they are not, as this one hatchery is going to just be torn apart by those Dark Templar there. But in comes the main fight over here. We now see what Stalkers and Archons now trying to move in, and now a lot of damage will be dealt. There is a force field, but the force field's not going to be stopping those Ultralisks. Ultralisks going to be able to turn around, get some damage, barrel their way through, but those Ultralisks are not even being pathed correctly. Stalkers now trying to blink away, trying to go after those go after that Ultralisk here. Ultralisk does have a decent amount of armor, 6 armor, but still doesn't want to engage this ball here. We now see a large number of Ultralisks now coming in. The force field's not going to do anything at all, as those Ultralisks are going to start chomping away. Stalkers and then Colossus also taking a lot of damage on the back there. And wow, so many of those Ultralisks going after those Colossi as well. So much damage being dealt. Ultralisk with now 6 armor, 2/5 upgrades. Ultras continuing to give chase. One queen now coming in as well. That queen gonna get sniped down, but those colossi now falling over here as well. And I believe the rest of the stalkers have now fallen. And what a complete turnaround in this army. Hasu now down to 2,000 mineral army, as that Ultralisk ball was able to just tear apart so many of these colossi. This Spire over here may get taken down, as this high ground location unable to really deal any damage there. Production wise, I don't see any corruptors currently being trained, and that will be a problem, as those colossus on that high ground will be able to deal a fair amount of damage. Production wise, we can now see Void Rays are being trained, and the Void Rays are going to be the key counter. And now Probes trying to make their way out. Stalkers also, Zerglings now, but now Probes just getting completely stuck there, now trying to fight back against those units, now delaying many of those Ultralisk. Ultralisk now turning around, Void Ray in the air, getting a lot of additional damage towards those massive units. Ultra is now able to run away though, but this one Colossus will be able to snipe down this hatchery and perhaps slow down the production even further. 43 or 44.75 versus 35.25. This is still anyone's game. Hasu responding very well with Void Rays. Those Void Rays do not have any weapons upgrade though, but they do additional damage versus massive Zerglings. And Ultra is now trying to come in, now just trying to walk into this location here before they now start swarming into this. Stalkers now trying to blink away. It looks as though many of those Ultralists are just getting caught up upon themselves. Immortals are now in the front of the line as well, able to deal a lot of damage, but there are a lot of Void Rays in the air. Only two Void Rays in the air. Will those Void Rays be able to stop this army? Is going to be able to key question, as there are currently still 6 Ultralisks left. 6 Ultralisks continuing to just chomp away, trying to get more damage. Void Rays currently 3 in the air now, and they are almost fully charged, all 3 of them, dealing, I believe, 24 damage and plus an additional 20% against that massive. So that is probably about 44 damage. No, 48 damage a second, almost 50 damage a second if I calculate this correctly. Stalkers, very smart, blinking across this gap in order to save themselves, and now that Ultralisk has been taken down. Stalkers now moving in over here, taking down these destructible rocks. You can see one or a couple of Dark Templar now trying to take down even more of those drones. There is one Spore Crawler here. The Spore Crawler does give sight against that Dark Templar, and now one Ultralisk back over here. Now only a 525 mineral army for Kuba, and Kuba really needs to try to macro up and get back into this game. Economy wise, you can see that he is very far behind, only down to 38 harvesters compared to 52, and Kuba had a very small window of opportunity. But Hasu doing a great job utilizing Stalkers and Void Rays, and those Void Rays are probably the heroes of that fight so far. No Hydralisk, I know there is still a Hydralisk stand, but as soon as this Hydralisk stand gets sniped down, those Void Rays don't have to worry about a thing. Now quickly, those Void Rays just simply walking in, now gonna go after the main Hive Tech building over here, perhaps, yeah, quickly focusing down that Hydralisk stand, and one Hydralisk not going to be able to deal too much against that there. One Ultralisk coming in and just acting as a little bit of bait, and now in come, what, 7 Hydralisks now trying to go after those Void Rays. Void Rays are taking a lot of damage as they do move very slowly in the air, as those Hydralisks are able to move much more quickly. They are 3-3 upgraded, but now back over here, Stalkers coming in as well. Stalkers just shooting down many of the air units. I do not see any Ultralisks over on this side. The spawning pool will now get taken down, and now those Stalkers just blinking so well across the map. 3-1-1 upgrades. 3-1-1 upgrades. Hydralisk continuing to just deal more damage back over here. Ultralisk trying to get into the front. There is currently one Dark Templar. It is quickly sniped down as well. Stalkers continuing to give chase. More units are still being produced, and those Stalkers could easily blink away. Not quite sure why they are not blinking away at this time. Those Hydralisks may try to walk up this ramp, but that is going to be very dangerous, especially with sentries there. There is one Ultralisk, and that is all that is left. We now see, what, 2200 versus 3950. And the Hasu just doing such a great job sniping down many of those Overseers, but the Hydralisks are now going to be able to catch some of those Stalkers in open field. No, once again, the blink cooldown so fast, allowing those Stalkers to move around just pretty freely. Void Ray now going after the key tech at the starting location. Kuba pretty much losing his main base now, and there is nothing left here. Those Void Rays now on the hunt for more buildings perhaps to take down, to shut down, and do the slow base race that this is now turning into. Hydralisk and Void Rays with Colossus now battling over here, and no, those 2 Colossi are just going to add so much damage across those Ultralisks, and now 3 Dark Templar holding the ramp, and Kuba says GG. So wow, a great game here between Kuba and Mouse Hasu here in the Delta Quadrant. Kuba did a really great job utilizing those Ultralisks, but ultimately Hasu had Immortals and Void Rays, and those Immortals which were able to deal, I believe, 65 damage per attack. Yeah, especially with those Void Rays which Ultralisks cannot attack. And those Void Rays, as soon as he got 4 to 5 of those Ultralisks started melting like butter. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between Kuba and Mouse Hasu here in the Delta Quadrant.